Yeah. Chapter 6. When he remembered the scene afterwards, this is how Raskolnikov saw it. The noise behind the door increased, and suddenly the door was opened a little. Why Petrovich annoyed? What is it? Why? I gave orders. For an instant, there was no answer, but it was evident that there were several persons at the door and that they were apparently pushing somebody back. Porfiry Petrovich uneasily. What is it? Voice outside flatly. The prisoner, Nikolai, has been brought. Porfiry Petrovich, flustered, rushing to the door. He is not wanted. Take him away. Let him wait. What's he doing here? How irregular. Warder or voice outside protesting abruptly cut off. But 2 seconds, not more, were spent in actual struggle. Then somebody gave a violent show. Then a man, very pale, strode into the room. This man's appearance was at first sight very strange. He stared straight before him as though seeing nothing. There was a determined gleam in his eyes. At the same time, there was a deathly pallor in his face, as though he were being led to the scaffold. His white lips were faintly twitching. He was dressed like a workman and was of medium height, very young, slim, his hair cut in round crop with thin, spare features. The man whom he had thrust back followed him into the room and succeeded in seizing him by the shoulder. He was a warder, but Nikolai pulled his arm away. Several persons crowded inquisitively into the doorway. Some of them tried to get in. All this took place almost instantaneously. Porfiry Petrovich, extremely annoyed and thrown off balance. Go away, it's too soon. Wait till you're sent for. Why have you brought him so soon? But Nikolai suddenly knelt down. Porfiry Petrovich, surprised. What's the matter? Nikolai, breathless yet loud and resolute. I'm guilty. Mine is the sin. I'm the murderer. For 10 seconds, there was a silence as though all had been struck down. 20 seconds, break my voice. Even the warder stepped back, mechanically retreated to the door, and stood immovable. Porfiry Petrovich, recovering from stupefaction, what is it? Nikolai, solemnly after a pause. I am the murderer. Porfiry Petrovich, obviously bewildered. What? You? What? Whom did you kill? Nikolai again was silent for a moment. Nikolai, numbly staring ahead. Alyona Ivanovna and her sister, Lizaveta Ivanovna. I killed with an axe. Darkness came over me. He still remained on his knees. Porfiry Petrovich stood for some moments as though meditating, but suddenly roused himself and waved back to the uninvited spectators. The instantly vanished, it's causing pain, and closed the door. Then He looked towards Raskolnikov, who was standing in the corner, staring wildly at Nikolai, and moved towards him, but stopped short, looked from Nikolai to Raskolnikov, and then again to Nikolai, and seeming unable to restrain himself, darted at the latter. Porfiry Petrovich, almost angrily, "You are in too great a hurry. I didn't ask you what came over you. Speak. Did you kill them?" Nikolai flatly remarked, "I am the murderer. I want to give evidence." Porfiry Petrovich accepted. What did you kill them with? Nikolai, "An axe. I had it ready." Porfiry Petrovich impatiently, "Ah, he's in a hurry. Alone?" Nikolai did not understand the question. Porfiry Petrovich demanded, "Did you do it alone?" Nikolai eagerly taking full blame. "Yes, alone. And Mitka is not guilty and had no share in it." Porfiry Petrovich dismissive and skeptical. "Don't be in a hurry about Mitka. Ah, how was it you ran downstairs like that at that time? The porters met you both." Nikolai hurriedly and rehearsed. "It was to put them off the scent. I ran after Mitka." Porfiry Petrovich with vexation. "I knew it." Porfiry Petrovich muttering to himself. It's not his own tale he's telling. His eyes rested on Raskolnikov again. He was apparently so taken up with Nikolai that for a moment he had forgotten Raskolnikov. He was a little taken aback. Porfiry Petrovich, flustered, bustling over. "My dear Rodion Romanovich, excuse me, this won't do. I'm afraid you must go. It's no good your stay." "I will. You see, what a surprise. Goodbye." And taking him by the arm, he showed him to the door. Raskolnikov sarcastically probing, "I suppose you didn't expect it." Porfiry Petrovich with sly mockery. "You did not expect it either, my friend. See how your hand is trembling." Raskolnikov advancing. "You're trembling too, Porfiry Petrovich." Porfiry Petrovich forced composure. "Yes, I am. I didn't expect it." They were already at the door. Porfiry was impatient for Raskolnikov to be gone. Raskolnikov taunted, "And you're little surprised, aren't you going to show it to me?" Porfiry Petrovich, mockingly amusement. Why? His teeth are chattering as he asks, "You are an ironical person. Come till we meet." Raskolnikov coldly, "I believe we can say goodbye." Porfiry Petrovich, with an unnatural smile, "That's in God's hands." As he walked through the office, Raskolnikov noticed that many people were looking at him. Among them, he saw two porters from the house, whom he had invited that night to the police station. They stood there waiting, but he was no sooner on the stairs than he heard the voice of Porfiry Petrovich behind him. Turning round, he saw the latter running after him, out of breath. Porfiry Petrovich, out of breath, lingering intent. "One word, Rodion Romanovich, as to all the rest, it's in God's hands. But as a matter of form, There are some questions I shall have to ask you. So we shall meet again, shan't we? And Porphyry stood still, facing him with a smile. Porphyry Petrovich, pressing, expectant. Shan't we? He seemed to want to say something more, could not speak out. Raskolnikov, affecting calm, composed. You must forgive me, Porphyry Petrovich, for what has just passed. I lost my temper. Porphyry Petrovich, almost gleefully. Don't mention it. Don't mention it. I myself, too, I have a big temper. I admit it. But we shall meet again. If it's God will, we may see a great deal of one another. Raskolnikov sharply probing, and we'll get to know each other through and through. Porphyry Petrovich, intently narrowing his eyes. Yes, know each other through and through. Now you are going to a birthday party? Raskolnikov, somber, to a funeral. Porphyry Petrovich, fixing the feet. Of course, the funeral. Take care of yourself and get well. Raskolnikov mocking over his shoulder. I don't know what to wish you. I should like to wish you success. But your office is such a comical one. Porphyry Petrovich, pricking up his ears, intrigued. Why comical? Raskolnikov, ironic, defiant. Why? How you must have been torturing and harassing that poor Nikolai psychologically. After a fashion, till he confessed. You must have been at him day and night, proving to him that he was the murderer. And now that he has confessed, you will begin vivisecting him again. You're lying, you'll say. You're not the murderer, you can't be. It's not your own tale you're telling. You must admit it's a comical business. Porphyry Petrovich, giggling, shocked. You noticed then that I said to Nicholas now that it was not his own tale he was telling? Raskolnikov, dryly. How could I help noticing it? Porphyry Petrovich sardonically admiring. You are quick-witted. You notice everything. You're really a playful mind. And you always fashion on the comic side. They say that was a marked characteristic of Gogol among the writers. Raskolnikov flatly. Yes, of Gogol. Porphyry Petrovich pointed, lingering. Yes, of Gogol. I shall look forward to meeting you. Raskolnikov tensed. So shall I. Raskolnikov walked straight home. He was so muddled and bewildered that on getting home he sat for a quarter of an hour on the sofa, trying to collect his thoughts. He did not attempt to think about Nikolai. He was stupefied. He felt that his confession was something inexplicable, amazing, something beyond his understanding. But Nikolai's confession was an actual fact. The consequences of this fact were clear to him at once. Its falsehood could not fail to be discovered, and then they would be after him again. Till then, at least, he was free and must do something for himself. For the danger was imminent. But how imminent? His position gradually became clear to him. Remembering sketchily the main outlines of his recent scene with Porphyry, he could not help shuddering again with horror. Of course, he did not yet know all Porphyry's aims. He could not see into all his calculations, but he had already partly shown his hand. And no one knew better than Raskolnikov how terrible Porphyry's lead had been for him. A little more, and he might have given himself away completely. Circumstantially, knowing his nervous temperament, and from the first glance, seeing through him, Porphyry, though playing a bold game, was bound to win. There's no no denying that Raskolnikov had compromised himself seriously. But no facts had come to light as yet. There was nothing positive. But was he taking a true view of the position? Wasn't he mistaken? What had Porfiry been trying to get at? Had he really some surprise prepared for him? And what was it? Had he really been expecting something or not? How would they have parted if it had not been for the unexpected appearance of Nikolai? Porfiry had shown almost all his cards. Of course, he had risked something in showing them. And if he had really had anything up his sleeve, Sonia reflected, he would have shown that too. What was that surprise? Was it a joke? Had it meant anything? Could it have concealed anything like a fact? A piece of positive evidence is yesterday's wisdom. Who had become of him? Where was he today? If Porfiry really had any evidence, it must be connected with him. He sat on the sofa with his elbows on his knees and his face hidden in his hands. He was still shivering nervously. At last, he got up, took his cap, thought a minute, and went to the door. He had a sort of presentiment that for today, at least, he might consider himself out of danger. He had a sudden sense almost of joy. He wanted to make haste to Katerina Ivanovna's. He would be too late for the funeral, of course, but he would be in time for the memorial dinner. And there at once he would see Sonia. He stood still, thought a moment, and a suffering smile came for a moment onto his lips. Oh, sorry. Raskolnikov, muttering to himself, resigned. Today, yes, today. So it must be. But as he was about to open the door, began opening of itself. He started and moved back. The door opened gently and softly, and there suddenly appeared a figure, yesterday's visitor from underground. The man stood in the doorway, looked at Raskolnikov without speaking, and took a step forward into the room. He was exactly the same as yesterday, the same figure, the same dress, but there was a great change in his face. He looked dejected and sighed deeply. If he had only put his hand up to his cheek and leaned his hand on one side, he would have looked exactly like a peasant woman. Raskolnikov, numb with terror. What do you want? The man was still silent. Suddenly, he bowed down, almost to the ground, touching it with his finger. Raskolnikov startled. What is it? The stranger, softly, remorsefully. I have sinned. Raskolnikov tensed. How? Stranger, contrite. By evil thoughts. They looked at one another. Stranger, guiltily. I was vexed. And you came, perhaps in drink, and bade the porters go to the police station and ask about the blood. I was vexed that they let you go and took you for drunken. I was so vexed that I lost my sleep. And remembering the address, we came here yesterday and asked for you. Raskolnikov interrupting, eager to confirm. Who came? Stranger, humbly. I did. I wronged you. Raskolnikov, realizing. Then you come from that house? Stranger, explaining. I was standing at the gate with them. Don't you remember? We have carried on our trade in that house for years past. We cure the prepared hides. We cure and prepare hides. We take work home. Most of all, I was vexed. And the whole scene of the day before yesterday in the gateway came clearly before Raskolnikov's mind. He recollected that there had been several people there besides the porters, women among them. He remembered one voice had suggested taking him straight to the police station. He could not recall the face of the speaker, and even now he did not recognize it. But he remembered that he had turned round and made him some answer. So, this was the solution of yesterday's horror. The most awful thought was that he had been actually almost lost, had almost done for himself on account of such a trivial circumstance. So, this man could tell nothing except his asking about the flat and the plus chains. So, for fighting too, and nothing but that delirium. No facts, but this psychology which cuts both ways. Nothing positive. So, if no more facts come to light, and they must not, then what can they do to him? How can they convict him? If even if they arrest him, and provided then had only just heard about the flat and had not known about it before. Raskolnikov, suddenly struck by an idea, urgent. Was it you who told Porphyry that I'd been there? Stranger confused. What Porphyry? Raskolnikov clarified. The head of the detective department. Stranger plainly. Yes, the porters did not go there, but I went. Raskolnikov present. Today? Stranger, matter of fact. I got there 2 minutes before you, and I heard it all. How he worried you. Raskolnikov astonished. Where? What? When? Stranger eagerly explaining. Why? In the next room, I was sitting there all the time. Raskolnikov shocked, piecing it together. What? Why? Then you were the surprise? But how could it happen? Upon my word. Stranger narrating. I saw that the porters did not want to do what I said. For it's too late, said they, and maybe he'll be angry that we did not come at the time. I was vexed, and I lost my sleep, and I began making inquiries, and finding out yesterday where to go. I went today. The first time I went, he wasn't there. When I came an hour later, he couldn't see me. I went the third time, and they showed me in. I informed him of everything, just as it happened. He began skipping about the room and punching himself on the chest. What do you scoundrels mean by it? If I'd known about it, I should have arrested him. Then he ran out, called somebody, and began talking to him in the corner. Then he turned to me, scolding and questioning me. He scolded me a great deal. I told him everything. I told him that you didn't dare to say a word in answer to me yesterday, and that you didn't recognize me. Look out there. And he fell to running about again and kept hitting himself on the chest, getting angry and running about. When you were announced, he told me to go into the next room. Sit there a bit, he said. Don't move, whatever you may hear. And he set a chair there for me and locked me in. Perhaps, he said, I may call you. And when Nicole had been brought, he let me out as soon as you were gone. I shall send for you again and question you, he said. Raskolnikov, curious. And did he question Nicole while you were there? Stranger, simply. He got rid of me as he did of you. as he did of you before he spoke to Nikolai. The man stood still and again suddenly bowed down, touching the ground with his finger. Stranger, reverently, forgive me for my evil thoughts and my slander. Raskolnikov relieved, forgive him. May God forgive you. And as he said this, the man bowed down again, not to the ground, slowly, and went out of the room. Raskolnikov muttering to himself, renewed hope. It all cuts both ways. Now it all cuts both ways. And he went out more confident than ever. Raskolnikov with a malicious smile. Now we'll make a fight for it. His malice was aimed at himself. With shame and contempt, he recollected his coward eyes. Fuck complete. Very soon. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.